Hi guys, welcome back to Sally's Take, and today is the day I'm gonna talk about that French film where a woman fucks a car. I like to preface this video by saying whether you love or hate Titane, it's undeniable that this film definitely will invoke some type of reaction from the viewers. I'm not saying everyone should go watch it, I myself could barely go through it, but I think the film had some pretty interesting discussions about the human body. So let's get to the part where I analyze this film to justify the culture and body class I took last semester. Warning, there will be copious amounts of spoilers from now on. So Titane is basically about a woman named Alexia who went through a traumatic car accident in her childhood, which caused her to have a titanium plate fitted on her head. As she grew older, she developed an almost Stockholm syndrome with cars that turned into a fetish, and at one point Alexia had sex and got pregnant by a Cadillac. Watch the film if you want to know how that works. After that, she went on a murder spree, and while on the run from the police, she decided to disguise herself under the identity of Adrian, the long-lost son of a heartbroken fireman named Vincent. As the film progresses, Alexia becomes increasingly pregnant, and it's getting harder and harder to conceal her gender and identity. However, Vincent seemed unfazed and was just happy to get a second chance at being a father. The two clung on to each other and accepted even the ugliest parts of themselves. In the end, Alexia died, giving birth to a half-human, half-machine child with Vincent by her side. Titane could definitely be categorized under the body horror genre. The subgenre typically begins with a sympathetic, beautiful human being that slowly disintegrates into something grotesque and unrecognizable. However, Titane subverts this by starting the film with an unlikable serial killer and slowly returns her humanity as her body ironically becomes less human. I think discussions of our body in contemporary movies is as important as discussions of the mind, because now more than ever the body becomes something to scrutinize, as the ability to contort, perfect, and capitalize our appearance increases. We become more and more obsessed with the body. Titane puts the transformation of the body at the forefront by having Alexia's body drastically changing and communicating before our very eyes. It's this very reminder that bodies are ever-changing like the mind and have close ties with human identity, whether it be the identity we placed on ourselves or identity that society told us. Now, let's break it down. The feminine body. The feminine body is most of the time regarded as sexual beings, as the scholar Susan Bordeaux mentions that the female body, even when silent, is still speaking the language of provocation. If the female body does not reduce its femaleness, it might be perceived as inviting or flaunting. In the beginning of the film, Alexia encountered unwanted sexual attention from men, but we can see that as Alexia began to hide her feminine appearance and took on a more androgynous look, she got less attention from them, even though she was living in a more male-dominant space. The director also wanted to make it very clear what it's like to feel unsafe in a feminine body, to feel the embodiment, the experience of being involuntarily sexualized. For example, the scene where Alexia was walking alone in a parking lot showed that she was afraid and anxious of someone following her. It's the fear that every woman feels if they walk alone at night. This fear is also present in another scene where a group of men enter a bus and discuss sexual, explicit behavior they would do to a woman. Despite not uttering a single word at each other, you can feel the unspoken word and mutual fear between Alexia and the other passenger in the bus. Some older horror films even try to almost punish these sexual women, or femme fatales, by giving these women a terrible death. The most well-known example would be Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, where the sexual female protagonist was stabbed in the infamous shower scene. Titane also subverts this trope by using Alexia's sexuality as bait, only to kill the ones who dare to sexualize her instead. This film also further shows that even when a woman is sexualized or chooses to be sensual, it doesn't mean she loses all her power and autonomy. When Alexia chooses to subject herself in erotic dances, or when she tries to seduce Vincent so he won't leave her, which is still a very questionable scene to me, it doesn't necessarily take away her control or render her powerless though. It's more nuanced than that. Alexia may enjoy the act of dancing, she may use her sexuality body as a means to get paid or retain love, but just because there is a catch doesn't make it a powerless thing to indulge in. As Michel Foucault mentions, power and pleasure do not cancel each other. Thus, the heady experience of feeling in charge or in control of one's life is far from being a necessarily accurate reflection of one's social position. The masculine body. For males, the body is key in constructing manhood to seem desirable, fit, strong, attractive, and even heterosexual. Even though attaining the male body ideals will gain men attention and other benefits, such as respect from their peers, it's their own body which will betray them in the long run when they can no longer maintain the same ideal appearances. Vincent is the chief of the firefighter department. Therefore, he associates being fit and having the ideal body type with being competent for his job, but also appearing powerful in the eyes of his male staffs. Vincent suffers from toxic masculinity and struggles with aging as he can't keep up with his youthful self. Although Vincent did not transform into something unrecognizable in the end of the film, his extreme workouts and injections of steroids shows another type of transformation that is more familiar to how we mold ourselves in our current society. What is masked as being healthy and fit can have an undertone of toxicity when you base so much of your value on your appearance. The media often discusses how female body goals and body dysmorphia can be dangerous, but often neglect the male version of this. So it's interesting that Titane brought up how being obsessed with masculine body ideals could mentally and physically impact oneself. Crossing the binary. As opposed to the popular trend of body positivity movement that encourages people to love themselves, Titane sheds light on body neutrality, which detaches the fixation on the appearance but rather focus on the ability of the body and how it feels. In the film, Alexia isn't very attached to her body. She doesn't seem to prefer being called a particular pronoun, prefer to look a certain way for aesthetic reasons. As the director said, she almost doesn't have a contour. She sees her body as a vessel to move, a culmination of all the rage, confusion, and mistreatment in her life. Alexia was never confined by her parents with how she's supposed to look, and ultimately rejects being sexualized by both men and women. As Vincent gives her more and more contact and affection, she starts molding herself to the identity he prefers, which is the body of his son. But towards the end, she still doesn't fully suppress her feminine side, as seen in the scene where she tries on a dress and publicly dances in an arguably sensual feminine way. The only thing Alexia seems to mind was having her body transformed into a machine. This can obviously be interpreted in many ways, but I think that this particular transformation was so foreign that it made her terrified of herself. It might also be representative of the trauma people feel when they don't identify with a body part that's been replaced by a prosthetic, a machine, or just the horrors of being pregnant. As Alexia underwent her transformation, we get confronted with our preconceived notions on how we should identify her, and we get more frustrated and confused when we can't pinpoint her to any labels, but I guess that's the point after all. Alexia goes beyond the binary and becomes unrecognizable, unidentifiable. In the end, we are left with the question, does Alexia identify as male or female? Is Alexia human or mechanical parts? The director purposefully sought out actors with an androgynous look rather than seeking out a masculine or feminine actor. She also wants an unknown actor so we don't project our thoughts of their previous role on them. The role of Alexia is crafted to be unfamiliar and ever-changing from the beginning. I guess the most important takeaway from this film is to love and be loved unconditionally by someone, regardless of how society tries to define you, regardless of your body transformation you underwent, whether by accident, nature, pressure to appeal to beauty standards, etc. I personally think it's quite a beautiful message amidst all the gore. Please let me know if you like or dislike Titane. Do you agree or disagree with my opinions? Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon.